It sounds like the perfect plot for a conspiracy thriller. The giant oil companies are buying up electric vehicle charging companies as fast as they can. Do they mean to shut them all down, or just to make sure that the price of charging is high enough that driving an EV won't deliver any savings over driving a fossil-fueled vehicle? Shell is one of the world's largest providers of hydrogen made from natural gas. Or could there be a surprise ending? Perhaps the oil execs have the good of mankind at heart. They realize that the oil age is ending and want to be in a position to profit from the next energy era. Hello and welcome guys to our channel, Emotion. So in this video, I'll tell you the strategy that will disrupt the European EV market, just partnered by BYD and NIO. Charging infrastructure has been one of the major challenges for EV adoption, and for a long time, stakeholders have been stressing on setting up charging stations at filling stations. European oil companies are getting into this business. Shell entered into a global strategic cooperation agreement for charging infrastructure by partnering with BYD and NIO. This will start in China and Europe and will later be expanded globally. Recently, Chinese EV automaker BYD announced it has found an unlikely partner in Shell to expand and promote a good deal of energy and charging technologies together throughout Europe and China. This includes EV charging network services, integrated home energy solutions, electric vehicle service centers, and more. BYD, which stands for Build Your Dreams, is a Chinese automaker founded in 1995. BYD Auto, the subsidiary of BYD Company Limited, will be celebrating its 20th anniversary next year as one of the largest auto manufacturers in China. In 2021 alone, BYD produced over 320,000 BEVs, second in the country to only SAIC. Contrary to BYD, Royal Dutch Shell Group has a colorful history on the other side of the environmental spectrum. The oil and gas conglomerate carries a 115-year history decorated with human rights violations, thousands of gallons of oil spilled, not to mention the damning Paradise Papers from 2017. To change the narrative, Shell Group has made recent efforts toward reparations by investing in clean energy, particularly EV infrastructure. In 2020, Shell doubled its EV charging presence in Germany to 200 stations and purchased Ubitricity, the UK's largest charging network. In May of 2021, a court in the Netherlands ordered Shell to cut its 2019 carbon emissions by 45% by 2030. Previous to the ruling, Shell's emissions reduction target was 20% by 2030. Last fall, we reported that Shell had found an EV partner in Chinese automaker NIO, focused particularly on developing battery swap technologies. Additionally, NIO customers in Europe would be able to soon utilize Shell's charging network. Shell has now signed a similar agreement with fellow Chinese automaker BYD, and it appears to be taking clean energy expansion even further. BYD and Shell will establish a mobility service provider partnership in Europe. Shell will provide membership services to BYD's consumer and fleet customers, offering over 275,000 EV chargers on its roaming network. The parties will explore opportunities to provide integrated home energy solutions. This includes dynamic tariff scheduling, photovoltaic integration, home energy storage devices, and vehicle-to-grid charging. Jointly build BYD Shell electric vehicle service centers in key European markets. Explore the possibility of a global R&D partnership pertaining to battery performance and industry-leading charging. Shell will study how to apply technologies and products like its e-fluids and coolants to help BYD achieve cost savings and improve hardware performance. BYD and Shell are also planning a joint venture in China to develop EV charging networks. The JV will operate over 10,000 EV chargers beginning in Shenzhen, with plans to expand to other Chinese cities in the future. On November 25th last year, NIO announced it had signed a strategic partnership agreement with Shell to work together on charging and battery swap facilities in China and Europe. NIO is the global leader in the technology in terms of overall footprint, but with entry into Europe, it's going to want to have access to Shell's fast charger network, right? It seems to have done so to an extent, but not to the degree that BYD is now planning. While BYD is a huge Chinese automaker, much of the news in this strategic agreement with Shell appears to be focused on EV charging in Europe. We're here for it, as long as it supports further EV adoption and ideally gives Shell a new lucrative venture to pull its slavering gaze away from crude oil. Shell had already formed a strategic partnership with Chinese electric car maker NIO a few months ago. This agreement is for NIO and Shell to construct and operate battery charging and swapping facilities. NIO and Shell will develop a network of co-branded battery swap stations. Cooperation in China will start with 2 pilot sites and aim to reach 100 sites by 2025, as well as additional co-branded battery swap stations at Shell EV charging hubs and Shell Recharge fast chargers at NIO locations. Cooperation in Europe will start from exploring pilots in 2022 and scaling rapidly subject to success. The battery swap stations will be installed jointly also in Europe, starting in 2022, where NIO expands currently in Norway with a plan to enter more markets in 2022. The two intend to start with pilot stations and then scale rapidly depending on the outcome. In conclusion, and though not much has been made of this news, I see this partnership as incredibly bullish for both companies, but especially NIO. NIO is currently working to expand into Europe, and Shell is the perfect ally in these efforts. The EV segment is getting crowded, but by becoming a key player in the charging part of this industry, NIO can offer superior value to its customers and perhaps even find new monetization avenues. With that said, the strategy carries out significant risk, as NIO will have to make heavy upfront investments into this infrastructure. Ultimately, I believe in the long-term growth story behind NIO. Investors willing to be patient will be rewarded. In Europe, Shell and BYD will establish a mobility service provider partnership. The two companies intend to jointly establish BYD Shell EV service centers in key European markets to provide customers with more opportunities to experience BYD's premium design, advanced new energy vehicle technology, and smooth charging and digital services. Both companies will have jointly developed these services to enhance the customer experience. Globally, the two companies have announced that they will seek opportunities to provide customers with integrated home energy solutions, such as dynamic tariff scheduling, photovoltaic integration, home energy storage devices, and vehicle-to-grid interaction charging solutions. Since BYD is also a major producer of batteries, this approach with Shell and stationary energy storage and V2G solutions would suggest BYD is interested in second life storage solutions before batteries are eventually recycled, since this is a common second life application according to battery reuse and recycling guidelines in China. As yet, for example, BYD does not have recycling facilities in Europe, but has somewhat more extensive battery recycling facilities in China. Globally, the two companies say they intend to carry out R&D cooperation in fields like battery performance and EV charging. In other exchanges between the two companies, Shell is to look at how its technologies and products such as e-fluids and coolants can be used to help BYD save further costs and improve hardware performance. Shell, for example, developed a customized thermal management fluid for a Chrysler electric battery solution in 2020. Shell has invested in electric vehicle charging providers in a big way over the last few years. Shell acquired the Dutch company New Motion in autumn 2017 and U.S. company Greenlots in early 2019. In November last year, New Motion and its U.S. counterpart Greenlots were rebranded as Shell Recharge Solutions. Shell also owns Berlin-based European charging solution Ubitricity. Shell has been transitioning towards an electric future with the historic chance of new energy vehicles, providing consumers with high-quality service in charging facilities and new energy vehicles consumption and creating vital development opportunities. And what does Shell get from this arrangement? The company will be able to increase its presence in Europe and China in terms of service stations, though this isn't as significant as it is for NIO and BYD both. For Shell, this partnership is about transitioning into the world of electric vehicles and green energy. Above, I mentioned the fact that NIO and BYD will help Shell expand its Shell Recharge solutions. Shell is trying to adapt its existing infrastructure to what the demand of the future will be: electric charging. Shell also wants to be a key player in the EV charging industry by creating a holistic network of hardware and software that can serve the needs of tomorrow. Electric vehicles will play a critical role in Royal Dutch Shell's efforts to cut emissions. Owning, running, and maintaining this infrastructure could one day bring millions in revenue to the company and can expand its business in Europe and China and then make it globally available, and Shell is trying to get ahead. Alright guys, that's pretty much it for this video. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to smash the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to get the latest updates. Thanks for watching.